welcome back to a new episode of the Combined Impact podcast. I am Shadi and I'm joined by Ila. And today we are going to talk about experiences that we and our viewers have had dating white/woke quote-unquote people. But before we really get into that and what exactly we're gonna talk about, we do want to revisit our last episode, which was about body hair and grooming that Ila did a wonderful job with.
Thank you.
So how did you experience that firstly?
It was wild as fuck because I've obviously had the conversation with many different people in many different circumstances and stuff, but then to be recording an episode on my own without having a sounding board, and then just who am I talking to? I'm sitting alone and recording this thing, and I don't even know if it's gonna resonate or not, or if people are gonna even understand what I'm talking about. And just the way that I talk, and I mumble a lot, and you're usually there to
Stop
step
the mumbling
in when I start mumbling, and now I just had free reign to mumble as much as I wanted to, so it was weird. I definitely prefer doing an episode with you here. Thanks for being back.
I do remember listening to the episode when you sent it to me, and because we had that conversation, it's you were like, yeah, I like my scientific stuff. I'm not gonna try to get too much into that. And then the first words you said, I know I said I wasn't gonna get too scientific, but it's oh my god, fucking wonderful. I love it. I loved every aspect of that, and it definitely which is funny to me because it also made me think, and it's hilarious. Oh my god, I'm learning from our own podcast. This is great.
Nice.
Yeah. But and that was also the whole aspect of the body hair and grooming and stuff is something that also came up because I have finally cut my hair, guys. It's finally short.
A round of applause.
I don't think you guys understand how important this is because I have been bothering my friends with this for I think the good part of a year that I've been saying, I want to cut my hair, but I've never had my hair short, and my hair has always been an arm, or you've mentioned in the episode, and just the pressure we have, or the pressure I had growing up too, having to present femininity.
Yeah,
and my hair was and my hair was the most important part of that, and letting go of that was apparently still very hard for me. And I finally did it, and now I'm bitch, I want my hair shorter. Where's the nearest... Well, I don't have money now, but I'm probably going to cut it even shorter, so kind of funny how that works. Nice. But so it was very interesting to see in all the different ways hair politics and grooming politics affects us in a daily life. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's, I think, a very good conversation to have with ourselves as well, and how much we actually do for us as opposed to what we do for other people. So
there are many assumptions that come along with what you do or don't do with your hair.
And I'm kind of tired of those, and I'm kind of tired of caring what other people think about my body hair and my body in general and what the hell I do with it. So I think it's a good conversation that we all have to have with ourselves. And today we're gonna get into I don't know how to describe this topic and what we want to talk about, but we're just gonna get into it. And
we're gonna wing it today. So today we are not gonna start with definitions because it kind of speaks for itself, dating white woke people.
Yeah.
But we are gonna start with hella disclaimers.
Yeah.
Take it away, Shadi.
Okay, first of all, this is not meant to be in any way a divisive conversation. We just want to talk about the experiences we technically I have had. And we have also asked our viewers to submit their own stories and experiences. And it's just, that type of conversation that a lot of us have these type of experiences, especially if you move from the islands to Europe. And then, you find yourself with these new experiences is dating these new people and things you might not have experienced back home and stuff like that.
We're gonna get right into just the questions.
We did ask like a few questions as guidance to because it was pretty difficult to like try to figure out, okay, how are we even gonna record this episode, what are we even gonna be talking about? So we decided to do a questionnaire basically,
because we also started to look it up online. And honestly, Google sucks in this one because all you get is like articles of like questions interracial couples are tired of hearing. I'm like, okay, sure, but what was their actual experience? That's why we decided to do the questionnaire.
But most of these, of course, are anonymous, and we're gonna keep it anonymous.
So the first question was, would you say you're only or primarily attracted to white people, and why do you think that is? I thought that these responses were not very surprising, but I did like that there were some people who were like, I wouldn't say that I'm primarily attracted to them, but looking back at the people that I have actually ended up dating, all of them are white. And some people just said, heck no. This white person just sort of happened to me.
Fucking, oh my god. But so it's very interesting seeing sometimes people also realizing when you ask this question, it kind of becomes like a thinking process for them too, because then you look back at your partner, it's like, oh shit, am I primarily attracted to white people, but why? Or it's a very interesting, like, I guess
somebody actually ended their answer with, I'm not sure why that is or what that says about me.
But so that was a very interesting
and I don't think it's even necessarily about what it says about a person. It's just interesting to notice because when I was thinking about this, I'm also attracted to white people, but I'm mostly attracted to non-white people. But when I used to still live on Aruba, then I was more attracted to whiter people than I am now. I don't know if it has to do with like how abundant the person is, and the less abundant they are, the more attractive they are to me. And then you're living in a sea of white people, I'm like, actually, can I have that one brown one?
Oh my god.
But it's interesting to see that some people had that taste in men or women on the islands and also here. Yeah,
it is interesting for me too, because like I looking back at all the people I've dated or been with or had any kind of situationship or whatever with, none of them really look alike, or none of them are from the same like group of people, you would say, which is very interesting, but also I think is a kind of a testament to my sexuality, because I'm not necessarily attracted to like one specific gender or stuff. So I think that kind of bleeds out into the people I'm attracted to, because it's just, if I find you very cool as a person, I'm attracted to you, and that's basically how it works for me. So I don't like have a primary attraction to one type of look. Well, I do have a more primary attraction towards one type or a type of gender on the spectrum, which leans more towards the women and non-binary kind, I guess. But when it comes to looks itself, it's not.
Another person also mentioned that because they are also used to be attracted to one gender than the other, and now mostly women, but when they were also attracted to men, then they said that with the men it didn't matter at all if they were white or black or brown or whatever, but with women they do find that they ended up with a type of preference. So that's also pretty interesting to know. For our next question, what did we ask next? That was, have you ever found yourself having to explain to your partner why exactly something isn't cool? Microaggressions, why all lives matter is offensive, why Zwarte is racist, etc. I'm glad to see that a lot of people answered no or not outright yes. One of them did start with, I definitely explained microaggressions to my partner, but overall it was mostly no or not necessarily, or a little bit, but they really understood the right away.
Yeah, I think with this one, it kind of ranged from having partners who already sort of understood or had to be explained what microaggressions were, and being who they are they are still supportive and try to understand and try to learn from it. And you had some who really had partners who were just completely oblivious, or not oblivious, they just choose not to.
Yeah, they were kind of assholes about it, to be honest, because if you think about it, some people just are never ever exposed to stuff like that and never have to think about that, which is fine because obviously they can't help where they grew up.
Yeah, or how, or...
Yeah, or what they were exposed to. But with some people, you really have to explain and sometimes try to convince them about microaggressions, for example, or why something is racist. And with other people, you just have to make them aware, and then they intuitively understand, like, oh, of course this is not okay. Because there's that whole... like exoticizing us.
Yeah.
So white people who date us just because we are exotic.
Yeah, and it's something we do have to think about when...
Yeah, I'm super concerned about that. Like, whenever I'm on a dating app, I'm like, does this person actually like me, or do they like the idea of who they think I am?
Exactly. Am I just like this, like a trophy for them, or... Which I did become at like for my ex, which was why I was like, oh damn, that was... yeah, because I thought in the beginning, you know, he was just very cool and very, like, open to learning and all of that shit. And then, like, obviously, after a while, when you were getting to know someone, when people start getting comfortable, you see their true nature in a way. And then I did realize that he was just, like, in a way that was also his way of rebelling, I guess, which is another fucked up thing.
You
like rebelling from
the
or like rebel from being with, you know, the status quo type of person that was around in his, like, village that walks, you know, like, I was just different, which is
nasty.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, that was something. Okay, but yeah.
I was glad that the one person did point the whole exoticism thing out.
And also another person pointed out that they constantly had to explain to their ex why certain jokes weren't okay, and how it made them feel, and yet that person still didn't want to listen. I was just like,
they were defensive.
They were defensive, and they were just like, oh, you're just making a big deal out of nothing and stuff like that. And that is actually absolutely the worst way into how to respond to that. It's very telling if that's your first go-to, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, if someone is trying to tell you...
always point to statistics, or who always points to, but what about...
It's like, no, we're not talking about. I'm talking about in this specific point, you're saying a joke or whatever that is very hurtful to me for this specific reason. And your job as a white person is to sit down and shut the fuck up and listen. And understand that why microaggressions affect us the way they do, and affect us very more disproportionately than they affect you. Wow, that was a word. That word beat my ass. But anyway.
Which is really funny. Well, not the word, but I mean the whole way we ended up, because the next question is, did they ever doubt your experiences?
Oh, yeah.
And
gosh. It's definitely hard to be with someone who you continuously have to sort of, like, ask them to understand where you're coming from. In the sense that when something happens to me, or, like, you know, I had to deal with certain... like racial microaggressions or discriminations, even within from his family or from his friends, that they don't necessarily see as, you know, microaggressions. But of course, I know what that is, and I experience it. And then I explained this to him, and then he's just, but you know, like, they don't mean it like that. They're not bad people. They don't know better. You shouldn't be too hard on them. It's like, okay, but it's not about them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about how, like, not hurting their feelings by confronting them, because they're doing something that is also hurting my feelings.
Yeah,
so what about my feelings?
Basically telling you to, like, hush up, don't make other people uncomfortable.
And I'm like, dude,
when it's okay for everybody else to make you uncomfortable, you just can't say anything about it.
And then, like, at some point, I remember, like, I would explain to him what I had gone through, because I had gone through a lot of, like, shit at my in college, or in my school.
Also in the deep south.
Yeah, when I had to deal with a lot of like racist, like, microaggressions and just discrimination in general, and like explaining these things to him, like he would always try to find a way out. He would always try to find
justify it for them.
Basically. And I'm like, this isn't what I need from you. I need support. I need, someone to understand, like, even if you can't understand because you're white, also understand that this does happen and it is something I experience and it affects me in a certain way. So it's not like your place to be like, I don't know, but maybe you're just overreacting. And like, don't tell me that, because I won't beat your ass. But anyway, like
that sentence, and you're just overreacting.
Oof. The thing about these, you cannot generalize, of course, and everyone has their different experiences, and of course one experience is not going to be the same as the other, just like dating one person is not going to be the same as dating the other person. So of course you're going to get these polarizing like answers, but to me it's just very interesting also to see like a lot of the questions that we do know that kind of come from people we know are like women.
Yeah, because we also received some responses via voice notes, and so obviously we know who they are.
Yeah.
And those were primarily the women that shared their experience, and some of it was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I just noticed the difference too, and then of course then you see where intersectionalism falls into play, because you see a lot of the women experience really like heavy shit with their white male partners, as have I.
Yeah, very uncool things.
And then when you like look at the dudes that answered our questionnaire.
What we presume to be dudes. Like, they were kind of obvious.
Yeah. Well, some of them we do, though. And it was like, wow, your person is a wonderful person, but it's also a woman, so of course.
Yeah, so this conversation initially started with what is it like for a black Caribbean person to date a white European person.
Yeah.
But then we found from the answers that have been pretty, like, on both sides, that the biggest difference did seem to be, do you date women or do you date men?
Yeah.
Because there is also someone who is a woman who is dating a woman, and this question, did they ever doubt your experiences? Their answer was the most beautiful and inspiring, because of course there are some things that you will not understand, and then you can choose to doubt them, be like, are you sure that happened? Was this because of your skin tone? Is that what you're saying? Or you could ask questions, which is what this person's partner did. She just asked her questions and was like, okay, so I don't have any experience in this, so could you please explain it to me or elaborate? How did that make you feel?
Yeah.
All of that stuff. So there's that way of like how you should be doing it. And then there's one of the answers that wasn't yes or no, it was just all the time. To a point near the end of our relationship, I wouldn't even open up to him about things anymore because I was experiencing in school. Because I had a racist mentor, my class treated me like a barbaric animal, and I knew he would tell me that it's all in my head and that I should be grateful for them even talking to me.
That is just point blank racism. That's just point blank like
whenever
superiority.
You say you should just be grateful that blah blah blah. No.
That is very much on the side of white supremacy as well.
Yeah, that is a trash quality person.
Yo, I am so happy that like this person clearly like
broke up with
them, and because holy shit, like. But it's definitely so, and I don't think people understand how mentally draining and mentally how problematic that is for your own mental health as a BIPOC person.
To be doubted?
To not only be doubted, but to be like, all of it. Doubted, kind of silenced in a way, kind of gaslit.
Gaslighting, yes.
That's basically it. We found the word. Basically, it's gaslighting. Being gaslit for 2 years, basically, really did a number on my mental health. As a, BIPOC person, as someone who had gone through all these things, but had no support around me because most of them were white people and they didn't get where I was coming from. I didn't want to either. And my partner, who was supposed to be, the person you confide in and you trust to be able to understand and be a safe place or safe space for you, isn't. And you're just left with all those, like, having to like deal with that. And a lot of us, we react in different ways, right? Like some people decide, nah, this isn't for me, peace out, whatever.
Fuck you then.
Yeah, but not everyone is like that. And like I was definitely not like that in the beginning, because I'm a person that easily internalizes these things, and makes it like, oh, that probably is just my fault. Or I shouldn't be so dramatic. Yeah. And like, as women, we're really good at doing that to ourselves. And so that really, like, you really have to jump through mental hoops for yourself in order to justify being with this person or staying and, you know, having things be pleasant. So it takes such a mental toll as well, which is why I think it's so important for us to have these conversations about when you're dating someone that is outside your race, because they may or may not understand what mental toll it can take on you.
And it's definitely worth mentioning the difference between somebody genuinely not knowing and being curious to learn but not knowing necessarily how to start, or trying to like feel around for like what is actually going on, and straight up gaslighting, because straight up gaslighting is with malicious intention. Maybe they do or they don't believe you, but their only intention is for you to shut the fuck up and do what they want you to do.
Yeah, just think like I do. I don't wanna.
Yeah, don't disrupt my peace.
So the next question we had was, do you notice certain discussions coming up more compared to if you were to date a BIPOC?
And this one is tricky because some of them didn't date BIPOC or don't know what it is like to date BIPOC. They can only imagine what it might be like.
This is such an interesting question for me, because for me it is legit the reason we broke up. Like I broke up with my ex because at the end of it we were... and I guess that's a testament to how sometimes you really don't know who you're dating. Because people always say like, how could you end up dating someone like that? It's like it's not that black and white, because some people are just really good at like not pretending but just putting their best foot forward, especially in the beginning, right? You want to impress your person, you want to impress this person you're attracted to, and so like in the beginning, it was very much, in my opinion, I thought, oh, this person is very understanding and open and listens to me and doesn't like exclude my experiences, blah blah blah. But the more like time progressed, he was like, I guess his patience ran out or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. And he was just like, nah, I don't agree with you. And then we would literally be fighting constantly about certain things, about discussions that would come up.
I hear a lot of frustration.
This has turned into a podcast or an episode of me bashing my ex. But anyway.
Well, some of the answers were also just them bashing their ex, which, fuck yeah.
Thanks for the solidarity, guys.
And a lot of them did give, like, a really good perspective as well, because certain discussions coming up more compared to if you were to date a BIPOC. Of course, that depends on who you are as a person, and who your partner is as a person, if they are willing to have the conversations all the time, if they are doing their own research, if they're already involved, or if they just became involved because of you also being involved in this type of stuff. So it really, this one was really tricky to just have one sort of general vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another very interesting point someone brought up that I also didn't think about is... it really does depend on the person, like you said, because you can be dating a white person that is very much understanding and open. Like we have this one person who's dating this really, really understanding white girl who always asks and always is open and very empathetic, and knows that she doesn't always understand, but she's very careful in the how and
ask how she can support.
Yeah, which is very, very good and important to do as a white partner. But then you have someone else pointed out that with this white partner that they're dating, they have that kind of understanding that they didn't have with their previous partners who were BIPOC, who they would have these discussions with, and we're not on the same page because Yeah, because let me read it out. But that's mostly because we actively discuss this topic and oftentimes meet eye to eye or try to find some common ground. So it's more of a personality trait in this case, I think. Whereas when I dated my exes who were BIPOC, I can never discuss these things with them because it's too quote unquote PC. I just had the misfortune to have dated these two in my case. So it really does depend again on the person and their experiences and their personality and their values as a person as a whole. So that was a very interesting thing. That was like, oh shit, I did not think of it like that because you can be BIPOC and also still be racist, sexist, homophobic, etc.
Sometimes even more so. In a different question, one of the people also said that their partner helped them realize in what ways they were being discriminative against maybe a group of people or women or that type of thing. But another one that I also wanted to mention was, and this one had a lot to do with the type of person that they are and also the reason why they think that they gravitate more towards white people, and that's just because they're very sensitive and they are very passionate as well about justice and injustice, but they have to be very careful to compartmentalize, otherwise they overexert themselves easily. And then for this question, she answered that she herself is not very patient when it comes to her partner asking her questions, because she was already spending the entire day like fighting people online or calling out racist shit on the streets and stuff like that. And then when she comes home, her partner being just the loving person that he is, very new to all of this because he doesn't talk about this stuff all the time, and asking questions like, hey, what do you think about this, or could you please explain this to me, that she would
it's like Google it, bitch, leave me alone. I can understand that because you're like, it is exhausting having to explain constantly to your partner, like, yo, so this is why this is racist, this is why this is a microaggression, and at some point you don't want to fucking do that either. But it is interesting what you said about the whole calling the shots and you being the person that gets to decide, okay, today I don't want to talk about this, leave me alone. On to the next question.
The next question was, in what ways has your partner been supportive and helpful? And I just want to already give a shout out to the one,
we
the
already
lady
gave
dating
a shout
the
out.
lady one.
Like, man, women,
goals, man.
Queer relationships are just the best.
She
I'm
listens.
sorry to you straights.
That's where she started. She listens to my rant. She listens to what I have to say, to what I explain. She listens to everything, to her frustrations, her angers, her sadness, and never questions it.
She's and she listens to me talk about my diaspora project and offers to find books. She's very supportive. Like, that's so cute. Like, oh my god, it makes me want to cry.
I think this question in itself is very important because I can tell that there are a lot of interracial couples and there's a white person who's like, I don't know how to be the best white person I could be for this person that I love. And I actually saw that happen with my sister and her boyfriend because he grew up in a small German town, and it was very white. Everybody was white. He only knows
white experience,
few brown people, and 75% of the brown people that he knows is my sister and her family. So and that it was definitely weird to suddenly be thrown into like, oh, by the way, Black Lives Matter, and me and my sister are very passionate about this. And he was like, oh, wait, hold up, what? Like, how do I do this? So I actually had a really good conversation with him. He was asking all of the right questions, like, what am I supposed to do? Where do I find this information? How can I be the best support for her, for you, for just the community in general? So just having those conversations are already very, very important. There was one person who said that that they noticed that they were taking advantage of their partner's whiteness. So they would be sort of like, hey, could you tell your friends this and this and this, or like that this stuff isn't cool. And of course their partner was very willing to do that for them because, of course, they have that white privilege that white people will be more comfortable listening to them criticizing white people as opposed to a brown person criticizing white people. But then they also help them a lot in finding ways that they could communicate or convey their message themselves instead of having to do it via a white person each time.
Yeah, and I think that, in my opinion, is one of the better ways how you can be an ally, how you can be a white ally, is using your privilege in that way, knowing that, you know, that's something you could accomplish that your partner couldn't, unfortunately, because she would be met with maybe more microaggressions or more racial discrimination, and you have to be that barrier in that moment. And there are a lot of videos online as well of black people in the US were at protests, and then, you know, they were being approached by the police, and then a white person jumps in front of them like, oh, hell you're
no,
not doing
this. I know that you're not going to hurt me, a white woman, and I'm going to stand in between you and this
my
brown
privilege.
person that you definitely will.
The only time I would see those type of videos, it pisses me enormously off. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, but that's how you do it as a white person. That's what you're supposed to do.
That's how you acknowledge your privilege. That's how you use
and that's
your privilege.
How you become, like how you're being actively anti-racist. So it's again, these discussions about race is very sensitive. So we always try to balance it out a little bit, but it's just important. And like, I don't think we should shy away from these either, because these are important conversations to have.
Yeah. And then last but not least, one person said that their partner has been supportive by not feeling sorry for them because they're a minority. And they're essentially just treating them like a human being, which is a very nice sentiment, because sometimes it, papiamento just, it happens, okay? We speak papiamento mostly. But it's one thing to be supportive of your partner, but sometimes it's also like, okay, like, I get it, you're supportive, just like, let's be normal for a little while.
And that's so annoying, because again, that reminds me of this like that relationship I had, in which this dude's mom would be super extra nice to me every time she would see me, and so many, oh my god, how are you doing? You know that type of, like, that is, in my opinion, also a form of like racism, and like, and but you're extra super nice to the POC person in the room. And it's like, no, I'm really not a racist, I promise. Like, shut the fuck up.
Okay, I believe you.
And then, like, you know, that's really going the extra mile. And it's like, dude, I am not a fucking zoo animal. Just treat me like a regular... Just treat me like a regular ass person. But yeah, so it's just really like, don't do that. That's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's weird. That's just creepy.
Yeah. Moving on. And that takes us to our next question, which is, what has your partner taught you that you needed to learn? Like you also mentioned in the beginning, this partner was like, I was also very close-minded to begin with, and she kind of taught me that and helped me grow, because I very easily question the things they do, how they behave themselves, their culture intact, and yet I got quite offended when they would even show signs of doing the same to me. So it's like, called you out there. See, that's hypocrisy talking. But yeah, so that's a really cool thing too, because again, you learn no matter what. I think that's that's the beauty of these type of like connections, like interracial and just anything that is different from yours, is that you get to see a different perspective of a way of life and a different side of life that you don't have experience with, because it's just different. And I have learned greatly throughout my life that different perspectives are very necessary. You have to be able to walk in someone else's shoes in order to understand where they're coming from, and I think we don't do that enough. But like, I think all of us, in some sense of the way, are very close-minded to other cultures that are not our own, or other, groups of people that are not our own. It's just how it is, because we do grow up in like where we grew up and where we come from, and only coming to the Netherlands is when I really started broadening my horizons and my views, because I got to see different views, and sometimes violently, sometimes not. And that's basically, I think, being in these type of relationships, you're kind of thrown into it. You're kind of forced to see a different viewpoint, and that's what I think is very cool about this.
Actually, now that I read the answers again, I realize that a lot of them have like similar undertones. Like one person said, even the wokest white is still very white and very sensitive.
Yeah.
But then other people had that similar reflection, but for themselves, that they need to have more patience and empathy, because for them something is very obvious and all over the news, and you know, it's very intuitive for them, but then they also have to have that patience and empathy for their partner that don't have that experience and have never had to deal with all of this stuff to this extent. But I did like to see that you know, of course you would expect more work from the white people, because it kind of is a thing that white people do to us. But still, they're in a loving relationship. You know, this is your partner. This is your partner, your person. Yeah. And you want to have the best relationship possible with them. And, you know, maybe it's not ideal to have somebody who isn't aware of all of this stuff, and maybe you would prefer for them to just download the knowledge and then know
put it in their
and
brain
act
and not having to explain it to them.
But they're your partner. You have to help them. You have to be patient with them as well, and they have to be extra patient with you, of course. But you also have to understand that it's not that easy for them.
No, but that's the thing. Like when you, again, like with any relationship that you're in, you choose to be with that person, which means you choose to take on all the things that come with that. I'm just saying, like in that sense, partnerships, relationships are something you actively have to work towards or work on. And I think it's when you get into these type of relationships, you have to go in knowing that these are going to be things you're gonna have to deal with more if you were as opposed to if you were dating someone from your own background and experience, etc. So yeah,
it's what you want. It's what you feel like you want to invest your energy in, because I don't know if I would want to invest my energy in explaining to somebody where I'm coming from. Maybe that's also why I'm not necessarily attracted to somebody who has a vastly different background than I do. But I mean, I would invest my energy in different things with that partner. And some people just, they are more willing to explain to their partner why certain things are okay and why certain things are not, and they're willing to take on the judgment of other people of them being in an interracial relationship.
Yeah, I think that's definitely it. Like for me as well, I prefer dating someone from my own background, because it's just nice when you get back home not to have to think. For me, like one of the things was also like just being able to speak papiamento with my partner, and just that is in itself such a like small thing, but for me it's so important to like not have to think about how I'm gonna explain my feelings to you, and just like being and just understanding each other on that like micro like that just basic level, and just knowing, because we have the same experience, we have the same
and the same expressions
and the same,
like exclamations when something happens. What day?
It's like I just have to look at them, and then I know exactly what you're thinking. It's fine, you don't have to. I just fucking love that, and that's like, I think that's the type of bond I would want. But that's me again.
Because somebody else did mention that they liked getting to know their partner and learning how their partner formed their perspectives, and that made their bond so much stronger. I'm guessing it's because they did have that mutual respect and understanding for each other, and that genuine interest in like, okay, you think this way, but why exactly do you think this way, and like get to the root of the get to the root of it, and really talk things out, and just getting to know someone on such a deep level that you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yeah.
It was also really beautiful to read.
Yeah, and I think that one too, they said, personally, I believe telling people what to think and how to act never solves the problem. People have to arrive at their own conclusions. Only then will they truly change. And I think that is very true.
Yeah.
We can like scream at people all day, this is not how you're supposed to think. But
why?
Do they actually understand?
Yeah.
And do they actually see it for themselves? That is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you actually change as a person. But yeah, and then our last question was, of course, we are in the middle of a new surge of the Black Lives Matter movement. And we asked them, how has your partner changed in the light of recent surge in the BLM movement? And again, we also got very different answers.
Yeah, because some people choose their white partners in a... Well, they don't choose them to be white, but they choose only the woke white people as their partner, and then you will end up with somebody who already understands this stuff, who already is very supportive, who already is actually woke and aware of these things.
Yeah.
So for those people, they're like, yeah, they didn't really change. They were just extra supportive and extra willing to talk about this stuff. And then other people who don't necessarily talk about, you know, justice and injustice frequently. They don't focus on black or white at all. And then when this came up, that they're like, oh, by the way, just so you know, I'm like super pro-black and Black lives hella matter. And then their partner are like, okay, let's go for it then. And luckily that person also ended up being very supportive, and they said something like they've been noticeably trying to learn, reading, sharing activist content, and trying to educate themselves and their unwoke family, which is also very important to be that person. We already mentioned this, but to, you know, try to educate their white people as well.
And also one that I found very interesting was also for the better. This is the same-sex couple again. For the better, really. She was already very involved, as I stated. Now she's more active too, donating, speaking a bit more up. She pays a bit more attention to what she says and how it affects others. It's I think, you know, it's cool to see, like, even us, we are prone to make mistakes. We still have so much to learn. We're still ignorant in different ways, and everyone is in a way. And I think the most important thing for yourself is to know you can always get better, or you can always learn more from it. And I think that's beautiful to see with these responses, that even though they were already sort of, you know, woke and sort of understanding, now it's kind of, because what we see happening too, because of these recent Black Lives Matter movements, is that people are not only just satisfied with being woke, but also you see this like new urge to be actively anti-racist. And I think that is just the next element to, you know, dismantling racism. And because you have to not only talk the talk, but also walk the walk if you want to see change.
Alright, so we said we'd wing it, and I think that was pretty okay.
Yeah, we definitely winged it.
Yeah, it was difficult to bring some of the important points forward per question, but I hope that we did mention the most important parts, because of course we can't mention every single answer for every single question, but that was nice, and I liked the different perspectives that we got from those responses as well. But if we did miss anything, then definitely let us know, and then we'll mention it at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah, because we do appreciate the feedback we get every time, because it does help us as well, and it helps us grow. It also teaches us a lot, which is the most important, I think. Like, we learn a lot from our listeners.
Yeah.
So it's we love to bring over that knowledge as well. Mm-hmm. So it's very important for us.
And for today, this part is obviously supposed to be like showcasing a creative person, and we had music up until now, And we also mentioned spoken word stuff or thought pieces, but this person, which I'm very excited for, is our good friend Ava.
And Ava is a fellow Aruban. She is also currently living in the Netherlands. She's a dancer, a very good one. And we had actually collaborated on her recent project, What's the Tea? There's a show she has on IG. She will speak more on it and what she does and who she is, of course. We're just gonna give her a little short introduction here. But yeah, so we started talking because we collaborated with her on What's the Tea. And since then, we've just been like,
really good friends.
Yeah, and we freaking love Ava. And we cannot wait for all of the wonderful things she has planned for in the future. And I think a lot of people are going to be really happy with the things that she wants to bring forward. So I'm really excited for her. Really excited for, her introduction.
Hello, beautiful people, awesome listeners of the Combined Impact podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I hope you found it informative and insightful, and that maybe it has sparked some conversations or questions, but especially a feeling of being able to relate. Before I introduce myself, I would like to give a huge shout out to Shadi and Ila for bringing all kinds of topics forward and having an open and honest conversation with everyone, and also making it accessible for everyone. But also a huge thanks for letting me have the opportunity to get to talk to all of you. My name is Ava Cruz. I'm 28 years old, born and raised on the island of Aruba, and currently living and working in the Netherlands for about 7 years now. I'm a dancer, a teacher, a coach, a choreographer, a traveler, an explorer, a person of the world, a loving being, a sensual being, a sexual being, a daughter, a friend, a member of my biological and my chosen family. I'm a talker, if you haven't noticed, a person of many cultures, a person of the arts, a person of color, a human being. But today, I'd like to zoom in on one important aspect: dance. I started dancing at the age of 3 and have not stopped since. There is something about dance that keeps me coming back. I always fall back into it. If you take a closer look at dance, you yourself do it every day, in your mind, or when you do that tiny little hip whine when you hear a good reggaeton beat in your kitchen while cooking. Maybe you even take a dance class somewhere. How about when you hear a carnival song or a really good tambu or bailable? Dance is in all of us. It's part of us. It's in our blood. You've known dance your whole life. Your body knows exactly what to do and how to react because of a feeling you feel on the inside. It makes you feel a type of way, and you express that in movement, in dance. How many times haven't you found yourself dancing with your friends or with family members? That feeling that you collectively create, that, my friends, is real. That feeling does not lie. I believe that when you dance, when you move your body, you are letting your soul be free. You let your mind go and let your body flow. But what does dance do to you really? It enhances your imagination. It transports you to a certain place and time. It even lets you share your experience with someone else. It connects your heart to another. It brings you closer to others. It never lets you feel alone. It is always there to catch you when you take a leap of faith and step out of your comfort zone. This aspect of dance, this feeling of collectivity, emotion, and connection is what I truly live by. I believe in the power of bringing people together. I believe we can do many things alone successfully, but in order to grow and learn from others and go even further, go together. From this perspective is how I started my IGTV show called What's the Tea? In the peak of the global crisis COVID-19, I found myself on Aruba feeling so disconnected from everyone, wondering how everyone else is coping with being in quarantine. What is everyone reflecting on? What's everyone doing to keep busy? What can I do to give back? And that's where the idea for What's the Tea came forth. I wanted to create a platform where I would invite a guest who works in any kind of field and is willing to have an open conversation about how COVID-19 has affected life in general, but also what are the lessons and the realizations that come with it. And because I wanted to somehow bring people together, I decided to have these conversations live on Instagram, where everybody could be part of the conversation and feel some kind of comfort knowing that not only is there power in your words, but as well as that collectively we are all going through a pandemic, even if we experience it all very individually. You are never alone. The fact that each and every single one of us is different and feels and emotes opinions and ideas differently are the reasons why we should come together and talk. We all have common differences, and there is so much power in that. What I thought would be something very simple on the surface, but still remaining comforting and interesting, turned out to be a show that I formed together every week with friends, where we talk about important topics, from COVID-19 to Caribbean traditions, to music, to arts, current events like the Black Lives Matter movement, business, empowerment, self-love, branding, colonialism, and so many more conversations that I wish I had had before. Every single person who has been on the show so far has been an amazing source of information, from the pre-interviews to the preparation and to the day of the live interview itself. It's really profound to witness the process and seeing the guests lead their interview in front of a live audience. The thing that struck me the most about starting this show was that I saw an opportunity to meet new people. Socializing for me is just like networking. Everyone you meet has something they are passionate about. There is always something that they want to talk about, always looking for a feeling of being able to relate to one another. Everyone is walking on another path than yours, and it's for that reason alone I want to stay open and say that my path is open to anyone who needs to talk, to get something off of their chest, to share their passion, to have a random conversation about anything and everything, to bring love to the world. What's the Tea is live every Thursday on Instagram. Do you have anything you want to talk about, anything you want to bring forward? Please do not hesitate to contact me. I promise it will be very fun and you will have a great time. As for dancing, I have a bachelor's degree in dance education. I teach at the ROC College Zuid, where I teach ballet to first-year students who are on their way to a professional dancing career. I specialize in ballet, modern and contemporary, and choreographing is where my strength lies the most. Do you want to dance with me? Hit me up. I'm always down for a dance. Love you guys. Sending out a big virtual hug, Eva.